I'm recording now. I wish I was recording for that.
I gotta tell you
Just
something.
that little bit. You're like, I went viral on TikTok. Was it the video where you're laying in bed talking about the government? Pretty much.
I mean, that's literally what it was, though.
I know. Because everybody kept sending me fucking TikToks, so I downloaded TikTok.
You're finally on TikTok.
And I followed 2 people. One of them's you.
Yeah.
So now what happens is somebody sends me a TikTok video. First off, I fucking hate TikTok. Don't even get me started. Being on it now, after not being on it for so long, I actually hate the UI. Like what the user experience on that fucking app
It's the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's the worst thing in the world.
just
And I'm
scroll.
telling you this as someone who was addicted to alcohol. It is horrible. Like, imagine if you had a friend at a bar who snuck you shots, right? Like, you're like, I can't drink anymore. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Like, they just slide a little shot and they're like, and they replace like your water with vodka. Like, that's what TikTok is. Like, TikTok
in what
is,
world? How?
Well, okay, because you get on and then it's like, hey, do you want to add your contacts? Do you want people to find you? Do you want this? Do you want that? And you're like, no. And then they're like, all right, cool. I'm like, I just came here because people are sending me videos. And then every time I get on, they're like, hey, here's a feature. And you can't use the app again until you read this and then swipe up. And I'm like, fuck you. I hate this thing. And like every third swipe, there's an ad. And then if it's not an ad, it's someone who's trying to be an influencer or like make money off TikTok. Advertising something. It's just, it's fucking the worst. It is like, it is capitalism incarnate. Like it is late stage capitalism in its worst fucking form. It's like just girls shaking their asses, people promoting shitty ass products that I'm not actually interested in because they think that they're gonna get $5 this month. Like it's like if you know what TikTok is? TikTok is a fucking flea market on fire. That's what it is. It's a flea market on fire.
It's
and
funny
like everyone's just running around doing as much as they can before it burns to the ground instead of putting it out.
See, the thing is like
wow, that was the perfect analogy. No.
No.
No counterpoint.
No,
that was a perfect analogy.
It's not a counterpoint.
You're
it's not a
part
counterpoint.
Of the flea market on
it's
fire.
not a counterpoint.
Flea market's on fire.
For one, I don't sell anything on TikTok, and for two,
yet
I only talk about how bad the government is. And three, to be fair, it is kind of crazy. To be fair, I have been on TikTok for a while. Every once in a while, I go through these spurts where I'll make content, and then I'll delete all the content, and then I'll go for months of just watching content, and then I'll make some content, and then I just rinse and repeat. But what is funny is watching the evolution in real time of TikTok turn from this app where it's just like
it was just seeing kids dancing for like 2 years.
It was like Vine 2.0 in a lot of ways. Like there was a lot of funny skits, there was a lot of funny content, there was a lot of good commentary content, and then watching it in real time all of a sudden roll out things like the TikTok shop, which is a little like kind of new, and all of a sudden now
is it microtransactions?
It's every third. You're completely spot on. Like every third like thing is you'll see down in the corner it'll say like paid sponsorship, or like it'll have like this like little orangey thing that you can click on.
Fucking dumb.
And what it is people will buy products. Like the one that I see all the time is like this pair of cargo pants, and so people will buy them, and then
why are cargo pants back? Why?
Yeah.
Why are cargo pants back?
That's TikTok. But what
like,
they'll do...
for real, though. Why?
Yeah, for real, though. I'll send you one.
Dude, I went to go get some nice jogger sweatpants for after the gym the other day, right? Like, I just went to get a nice pair of jogger sweatpants for after the gym the other day. And I went to Target, right? Of course, because why not? Because I live in upstate New York. That's why. And like,
Bougie.
there's not another. Well, there's not another. Where am I gonna go? Walmart? No.
Yeah.
No. I'm not subjecting myself to that. I'll pay extra to not have to deal with some of the people that exist at Walmart. No offense, I'm not judging anybody.
No, but Target's better.
But definitely, well, no, I am judging a little bit. You know what? And you know
what?
I'm going to own it, and I'm a bad person for judging. That's fine. But I don't want to deal with some of the people at Walmart, and that's just the truth of the matter.
Own it.
Okay? But like, I'm not perfect. Whatever. Whatever. But like, so I go to Target and all they had were fucking cargo sweatpants. I was like, dude, it's like the cargo sweatpants came out and someone got there before me and has like the same mentality that I have. And they're like, oh
buying
fuck,
them
these
all.
are gonna be gone soon, and they grabbed all the sweatpants before I got there.
No
all
matter
the
the
nice
size.
joggers that I want that don't have. Who? Here's what's gonna happen.
Well,
People
hang
are
on.
gonna have cargo pants again for like the next 5 years, and then someone someday, even though we're already asking this question in our minds. How often are we using these pockets, right? Someone's going to go,
but never.
are we? And then 5 years from now, someone's going to go, someone who's like an influencer or something is going to go, are we really using those pockets? And everyone's going to drop them again. Like,
Of course.
That's what it was.
But that's what the TikTok shop is, though. It's literally, you'll scroll and it'll be a guy. And the one I see is like, he puts the camera down and then he takes like some steps back. Like when you put your camera, and like people take their like couple steps back and they'll like show off the pants and they'll be like, what do you mean? Like nobody's buying these off the TikTok. These pants were like $15. Everybody needs to buy them. Click down below. And literally like every third or fourth one will be somebody that has bought something from the TikTok shop and then is making a regular, it looks like a regular TikTok, but it's really a paid sponsorship that the person that makes the products pays them to do.
That is also my least favorite thing about any form of social media right now.
Sucks.
Is like every third fucking thing is someone who who's like treating themselves like they're a brand, right?
Oh my God,
This is where our podcast started. I said everyone's a brand now, so we're a brand, and our brand is UnPop. I think our brand. Here's the thing. We're not going to succeed as a brand, all right?
What do you mean?
Let's have a board of directors meeting right now.
All right, let's do it.
Live board of directors meeting. All right.
Chairs are up. Stocks are down.
I'm the captain of the board of directors. Thank you. Let's do roll call. Captain, present, chef,
Present.
great. Here's our first. Let's talk gross profit.
Okay.
We're actually in the hole.
A lot.
We've been in the hole. That's part of our model. Also our company motto. We're in the UnPop. We're in the hole. We're in the hole. So we're right on target.
Right.
With where
We're
we want to
succeeding,
be,
kinda.
which is in the hole.
So we're winning. We're doing well
We're
then.
winning.
We're on
So
track.
based on this, the company is a success. We do not plan on opening any other locations. There will be no hiring of new staff. I'm
Damn.
sorry, everyone's gonna have to work overtime this week. We're in the hole. Fucking let's
Roll
start
the theme. Roll it.
Let's go.
Roll it.
Fucking.
Oh shit.
All right.
Just watching you die in real time over here. Ooh. Oh god.
I was not ready to laugh that hard.
Oh Jesus, that's funny. Yeah.
We're good. All right, you ready to clap?
Are you back?
I'm back. You ready to clap?
Can I tell you something before we clap?
Yes.
Do you ever look down at yourself in the shower and see the hair around your nipples and think it's really weird?
No, because I shaved that, bro.
Me too. Let's clap.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Hell yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the UnPop Podcast. I am your Capitan, Kevin Minor, todo siempre. He, him, with me as always is...
Odie Matthews, the chef. They, them.
Yes, cooking up content.
Always.
It's like a gumbo.
Ooh,
I
it
don't
is
know
like a
what this
gumbo.
accent is that I'm doing, but I'm doing an accent now, and it's a gumbo.
I don't know
He's
if that
cooking
fits, but
it
all right.
up, man. Like, it's just, you know what I've realized is I don't do, like, somewhere I stopped, like, intentionally doing specific, like, accents from places. And, like, if I'm just, like, being silly and doing an accent, I kind of almost picture, like, a cartoon character. And, like, I have, like a weird, like almost like a DuckTales character or something like that. And I just, like, give them a voice and start doing it. And it's influenced by different dialects that you hear, right? So, like, I just end up with, like, this character in my head that's, like, a nondescript whatever. And sometimes it's, like, a, you know, a Middle European accent, like or Eastern European or even or something like that. It'll lean into like there will be like a little fleck of like maybe Indian from like because like I grew up like doing impressions of all the things I loved hearing and all the jokes I loved on TV. So like I've got these little like vocal placements, but like as I'm doing weird accents and stuff, I'm just like it's like a cartoon. It's a cartoon character. I'm a cartoon character is all I'm saying in the beginning of this episode. So. How was your weekend? How are you, Odie? How are you?
I don't think you've ever asked me this question on the pod before.
I'm just, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
How was D&D?
It was
did some
good.
D&D yesterday.
It was. I do
you
it
were
every
dungeoning.
Saturday.
You were dragoneering.
I did not dungeoning, and I did not.
Did you fly a dragon?
Nah.
Were you in a dungeon?
No, we did.
You did not play D&D yesterday.
We did, but
you neither deed nor deed.
No. Well, no, we did do one.
What were you playing? Townsfolk Simulator?
Kinda.
Yeah.
We kind of got stuck in a Viking town on an
Dragons,
island.
This is what a lot of people don't realize about Dungeons and Dragons. That's what that turns into.
Oh yeah. I was trying to sell apples for some reason.
You're just playing The Sims. A lot of people, there's so many people loved The Sims, and then they're like, I don't understand Dungeons and Dragons. It's The Sims. But then every once in a while, you get like a quest to go on, and then it turns into like if The Sims had like an action adventure DLC, that's Dungeons and Dragons. That's how we play now. All right.
Facts.
You wanted us to come in and talk about a few different things. Why don't you jog my memory? Because oh my God, actually no. Let me tell you this. So okay. We almost didn't record this morning. You didn't know this. But we almost
didn't know that.
Well, you would have known had I had to go back to this town in Vermont. So I'm driving home from the judo tournament yesterday because we had the judo tournament in New Hampshire. So I drove out Friday. Beautiful weather, absolutely scenic drive, loved it. I went through Vermont instead of taking like I-90. I-90 is like, you're like throughway almost the whole way out to Durham, which is where University of New Hampshire is. Beautiful college campus, by the way, like beautiful town. It's right by Dover, so I got to hang out with the Snyders, who I love. I'm going to the Dominican Republic with them in April, right? We go down and we're starting to build a birthing center this year down there. So just like a lot of my favorite people this weekend. I love my judo team. Marco, Lena, Matt, and Kyle were there. Kyle's awesome. Like we brought like powerhouses. We had a great time. But so I'm coming home last night and we had like a severe weather warning, and I call up, the people that I know back here. I'm like, hey, how's the weather? They're like, well, there was a little bit of snow, but now there's like rain. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like we're used to that, right? And I've had a couple moments in the past week, like couple weeks where like, I'm like, oh, this is definitely like an upstate thing that you learn. Like the other week I was driving to rehearsal and I was like eating a sandwich and it was like downpouring rain and I had a Mack truck like swerve toward me and I just casually with one hand on the wheel like swerved around it, still eating my sandwich, like jamming out, listening to an audiobook, going like 50 miles an hour on a back road. I thought to myself, I'm like, man, anybody I know who lives in a city would lose their mind at the thing that just happened. They'd be like, we just almost died. I'd be like, that's another day in upstate, baby. But but last night, so I'm coming home and I hit this mountain coming over through Vermont to Bennington, which is like, once I get to Bennington, I'm 2 hours from home. I'm like 45 minutes from the New York State border, right? But I hit this mountain, and as I get up toward the top, all of a sudden there's a ton of snow. Like the elevation has gone up enough and the temperature has gotten low enough. It's just snow. Like this town was covered in snow. Everything else on my drive last night, not covered in snow. But this area, this vicinity, absolutely got blasted. So I'm like, okay, well, I drive a Toyota Corolla. Maybe not optimal for snow. I don't. Anybody who drives any sort of vehicle, you want 4-wheel drive. I don't have that. You want a vehicle. I think it has front-wheel drive too. I don't.
All-wheel is good.
Yeah. You want all-wheel or 4-wheel, right? You want to be able to get yourself up. So I drive through this town, and as I'm driving through, once again, this is a very like upstate New York thing. I take note. I'm like, okay, hotel, motel, place to stay, bed and breakfast. Like I'm like taking note as I go through because I'm like I don't know what I got coming up, but I might not make it and I might have to come back here. So I'm like 5 miles out of town, and sure enough, I hit a fucking hill and I get halfway up and my tires start spinning and I was like, well, fuck. So I 3-point it, and I'm heading back to town. But then, as I'm heading back to town, I get about 2 miles back, right? And a plow truck passes me on the side of the road that I was just on, heading toward Bennington. And I go, my opening. Now, on these back roads, it's not the same as the highway. Like highway, plow truck gets everything. Back roads, they don't get everything. So still, there's a chance I might not make it over this mountain, right? I might even be behind the plow truck and still not get enough traction to make it up that hill that I was on. Because it was a big hill, and what was happening was I was not getting enough traction to maintain speed, right? So like, and then as I'm going up, I was like, all right, I'll give the plow truck like 45 seconds to a minute to get ahead of me, because otherwise I'm going to get up behind it, I'm going to slow down, and then I'm definitely not making it up the hill. Like, if I don't have enough speed going into it, I'm definitely not making it. So I let the plow truck go that far ahead of me. There's another truck that gets ahead of me. I'm like, even better, because they're going to pave tire trails through the snow, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. I got to do this. I hit that hill again, and I'm slowing down. I'm slowing down. I'm slowing down. I'm like 3/4 of the way up, and I hear one of the tires spin, and then fucking catch. And I was like, thank God. And I made it just over and was like, but then the rest of the way, downhill. That was like the last hill of the trip that I had to make it over. And thank God that, well, here's another, like, if you're not from around here, like if you're not from like upstate in the north, if you're not from an area that can get snow like this and has roads like this, you don't know these things. But like, other people would see the plow truck coming and be like, oh, cool, well, the roads will be clear tomorrow. I'm like, no, we can do this now. Like,
yeah. Totally.
But you have to position yourself the right way. So I was like, it was a really funny moment. I was like, wow, thank God I grew up here and like knew those few little things to like just do it. But I legitimately, even seeing the plow truck, I was like, I don't know, it might be a cool adventure to just go back to that town and grab a room. There was a cool looking like hotel called the White House or whatever. And I was like, oh, sick. I'll go stay there. It looked bougie. I was like, I'll go stay there. I got a couple gold medals. I'll fucking hang out and like, maybe I'll meet some cool people and tell them a cool story about a judo tournament. Who knows? Like, you know, like my mind's like, all right, it wouldn't be the worst thing to get stuck. At least I had that, you know, I wasn't like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, at least you were close to a town.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why when I didn't make it up the hill, I was like, okay, 5 miles. I got 5 miles back to town.
That's the thing out here. Like, if you take the back roads through the mountain towns and you get stuck.
Oh, through like Breckenridge and stuff?
No. Like, that's off the interstate. I'm talking like, actually, in Breckenridge, there's a back road that leads all the way down to like Colorado Springs, which is like 3 hours south.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, but it's a back road. I'm saying that like if you get stuck back there, there's not very many towns, especially towns with like motels and stuff.
It's a lot of hiking trails.
Yeah, great. That'd be good. That'll help.
You can go for a hike.
Yeah.
All right.
A little bit.
But yeah, so you wanted to talk about a few different things today, and I'm gonna let you bring up topics, and I'm gonna shoot from the hip.
Oh.
Pew pew pew.
Oh well,
pew. Odie's just announcing. Odie's gonna steer the conversation. Take the helms wheel, Odie.
Oh, sweet! I'm the captain now.
I don't know why. Yeah, we're in a western, but there's still a helms wheel because I'm shooting from the hip.
Okay.
Captain's pistols.
We talked about there's a lot of changes happening, I guess you would say, and a lot of transitioning from one part of life to the next that we've been both experiencing in different variations and different levels.
Big time.
We thought with all the stuff we've talked about recently, it'd be nice to have an episode where we just kind of talk about what that's like and what it's been like and what's up kind of thing. And then may my knife chip and shatter, you know?
Your knife should chip and shatter on this conversation, yes. That's what changes in life will do to you. They chip and shatter your knife. You have to go get another Chris knife.
Yeah, can't wait.
You have to go grab a knife out of a worm's mouth. I love Dune so much. I'm so glad you brought that up already. I've referenced it so many times. I honestly almost texted you the picture of me with my medals yesterday with Lisan Al-Gaib.
I knew that's where you were going with that. I'm honestly surprised you didn't, and part of me is a little disappointed.
You know why I didn't? Because you can't call yourself Lisan Al-Gaib. Other people have to call you that, right? Paul doesn't walk around calling himself Lisan Al-Gaib. Other people call him that. He eventually accepts it, but...
Yeah, when he, spoiler alert, kills like 63 billion people.
That doesn't happen yet. Not yet,
It
baby.
will.
That's the
It
next
will.
one. Don't spoil it for people. Don't spoil this 40-year-old
I said
book.
spoiler alert.
I know. I don't. It's a 40-year-old book. Don't spoil it. No,
Right.
Nobody sees where this story is going, Odie. We don't know where it's going.
Nobody can tell.
He didn't say in the first movie that they were going to massacre billions of people in his father's name.
Yeah, good. It's like Darth Vader. If Darth Vader had a father.
He actually did say it in the first movie.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways.
Okay, so yeah, you
Yeah.
start. This is more conversational. I want you take the conversation and I will grab it and be inspired and contribute.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, realistically, what I wanted to kind of, excuse me as I burp on my coffee. Oh, there it goes again. You can cut this out, right?
No.
Okay.
You wanted to flex about your new job. That's what you really want to do. You want to come in and be like, I made a Ghostbusters commercial and all y'all are noobs.
No. Well, I mean, that is pretty fun.
It was a dope commercial, honestly.
It's such
I
a
loved
good
it.
spoof.
It's got like a nice nostalgia to it. The only thing, I know you can't do this for like a commercial for a professional agency, but I almost wish it had like a VHS type quality to it for like audio and video. I know.
I tried.
I had a
but
feeling.
I couldn't.
I wasn't even going to bring it up, but then I was like,
Yeah.
I wish it did, but I get why you can't sometimes.
I tried really hard, and I probably spent 30 minutes trying to find a way to make it look like it was from the 1980s,
Yeah.
but it just kept looking like really nice footage that somebody purposely tried to make look bad, and it just didn't look
You have
natural.
to shoot on a different camera to do that.
I don't have a camera that could shoot that poor.
You don't have that. Yeah, you don't,
don't
have
have
that
that.
camera. Yeah, that's more of like, I think a lot of people don't get that like it's a practical effect thing, and some people would probably still see it even if you edited it that way, and like and go, oh wow, yeah, it's like a VHS,
Yeah.
right? But like people who are really into film, which are the people that you care about, are gonna look at it and
Yes.
go, that's a poor attempt. You should have
Yeah.
just gotten the camera.
It made me look bad, right? I should have filmed it with like a webcam. Like, all right, guys.
Actually, that wouldn't have been bad. That's not.
Probably
bad.
would've worked.
Well, because you need something that has a natural level of grain to it, right?
Yeah.
And when you take HD and try to make it look VHS, and you're applying, what you're doing is you're applying a filter that has grain rather than
Yeah.
having the natural grain of filming, right?
You can tell it's just
To it-
grain
yeah,
on top.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
look
you
the
can-
same.
No, but yeah, it was fun. But
Okay.
no, what I really wanted to mention,
Get into it.
just because it's kind of, oh, excuse me, I keep burping on my coffee. But
This is the burp episode.
apparently, to be fair, I haven't
Late
had
stage
coffee all week.
capitalism and acid reflux. That's
Love
the
it.
title of this.
The best
this
combo.
episode.
Not really. That's the worst combo, actually. But
This
no,
late stage
so-
capitalism would be so much more easy to handle if I didn't have this acid reflux. Oh, heartburn.
love
What's
it.
the thing that's... Hold on, let me get on TikTok. I'll find the advertisement for the pills.
yeah, get on TikTok shop. We can get some Pepsid.
We'll get that... is it Pepsid? Is that what it is?
Tums.
Tums. Yeah.
Tums.
I need some Tums. Let me go to the TikTok shop. Get some Tums.
Get some margarita flavored Tums from the TikTok shop.
Use my Apple Wallet that's linked directly to my bank account.
That Amazon has all the info for.
Google Apple Prime.
So, so for those of you that don't know, which I'm assuming maybe some of you don't, but for the last like 4.5 years, I've had a YouTube channel, just simply titled Odie Matthews. It's kind of how I got started in content creation. It's how I started my old podcast that I used to have. It's how I got involved really more in depth with like you and Matt Pfeiffer, because I came up to New York and, using my YouTube channel skills, I shot you guys a coffee commercial for the Upstate Coffee Collective,
Yep.
which then got me more involved with podcasting. And through that YouTube channel, I've met people like Bo Ismono, who's been on this podcast, Aaron Radcliffe, who's been on this podcast.
Yes.
It's done a lot of things for me. It's been 4.5 years of making content about bag reviews and travel videos and travel tips. And, I got featured. Pack Hacker is probably the biggest entity on at least YouTube, and I almost want to say even the internet, when it comes to like gear reviews and blogs. They have an entire team of like 20 plus people that write travel blogs, packing lists, packing tip videos, bag review videos. I mean, they have like 3 separate YouTube channels that do like minis, and just a huge entity, you know, got featured on their best gear review list. I got invited to be a part of another big YouTube channel called Rush Faster. They did a best of 2023 gear reviews roundup. So like people like myself got to be in a video with people like Chase Reeves, who is one of the bigger YouTube bag reviewers. And all of this is to say that
such a flex.
Yeah, it is. all of this flex in USA is just to simply say that over the last 4.5 years, this channel has done incredible things for me and has given me some incredible opportunities.
Yep.
And as of a couple days ago, it is retired.
Forever.
Okay,
so wait. So hold on. I said forever. You said forever. If you ever want to do pack reviews again, I'm just saying if, you don't have to, you don't, like, this is hypothetical. Would you start a new channel for it, or would you revive? Serious question. Because it is something that you're still, like, you still care about.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's not like you're not one of those people who is creating content for something that they, like, weren't 100% passionate about. You know, like, there are those people who are like, all right, this is done, and then you just never hear from them again, right? You're one of those people who I'm like, all right, well, Odie might do another video in the future. And if they do, then, like, when they get back on, maybe Odie Matthews, the channel comes back, you know?
So it's a good question, and I was talking.
You have to answer it right now. No, you don't.
And I would revive if I did anything.
Okay.
I would revive.
All
but
right, cool.
I actually had an in-depth conversation with Boaz Mono because, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit on the podcast when he was on. I've talked about this and I've toyed with this and I've struggled with this the entire year of 2024 because towards the end of last year, my heart really wasn't in doing these kind of videos anymore. I really wanted to move away from it.
Yeah.
And so I even tested with throwing up some different types of content on my channel while also, you know, staying with my main type of content. And it just it didn't really work. And I realized that as much as I do love talking about backpacks, which is a very weird thing to love talking about. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know. I really feel like at the end of the day, even if, and there are still bags out there that I'm like, man, I really would love to get my hands on that. But I don't think there's a bag that could be offered to me or a opportunity to review or talk about anything that would make me want to make another video. And the reason why, there's 2 reasons why.
Yeah.
One, like I said, my heart's just not in it. And I told myself when I started my YouTube channel that the moment this became more of a chore than a pleasure, it was time to stop. And I also told myself that if I did make it as far as I had and I stopped, that I would want to pivot into something else.
Yeah.
And
you
everybody,
are pivoting into something else.
Yeah, because everybody that knows me knows that my real passion is more movies. But the second reason why I don't think I will ever make another video on that channel is my very first video was about a backpack that was my first backpack that I bought.
Yep.
And that was my first review. And then, 4.5 years later, my last video that I just put out was basically like a love letter to that bag. And it's all about how that bag got me started and how, to me, that bag is through and through like everything you could ever want. And there is something to the poetic nature that is, I started with this bag, and then there's all these reviews in between, and then the very last video that I ever make is me basically being like, you know what? I found my perfect bag. My search is over. I don't really need to review anymore because I found what I was looking for. And I think that there's something to kind of just leaving it at that, you know?
Yeah. No, that's good. It's poetic. I I like that you're open. You know that like if you wanted to do a review again, you would, if you were so inspired, you'd get back on. I do want you to also know that if you ever do that, I will start calling you Odie Brett Favre Matthews because you don't know when to retire.
I'll take Brett Favre over Tom Brady. I guess
that's what it's gonna. I would never call you Tom Brady. No.
Thank you.
I never wish that upon anybody. Whatever, Tom Brady fans. Oh no, we've lost the Tom Brady fans.
All three of them. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I said one, you said three. Well, that's good. You go through seasons in your life, and it sounds like that channel opened the doors that, and then when you took those opportunities, and I think people don't like it. It's hard to look at something that you did so well that brought you opportunity and say, okay, I'm going to do less of that or none of that, because you feel it's almost like a closer form of nostalgia, right? Like usually when we think of nostalgia, which is like a longing for the mental, hold on. When we think of nostalgia, we think of like the longing for our own perspective, our own biased opinion, our own memory of what was the thing that we loved. Like a lot of people are like, oh, the music in the 80s was the best. But what they're really thinking of is they're thinking of the music that they loved in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing for people who are saying stuff about like the 90s and emo core and stuff like that now. Like as we get further away from these things, there are going to be groups of people who are like, this was the best time. And it's like, well, you're just remembering the things that you loved about being the age that you were when those things were around, because there's plenty of it that was absolute shite. And there always is. But that's beside the point, right? That's just to add to the point that like when you see something, when something is that much closer to you, it's harder to let go of, right? Because that feeling, it's akin to nostalgia, but it's not the same exact thing, right? Because it's more immediate. You're letting it go now, right? Like it's not like something that you're remnant in the future. You'd be able to look at your channel and you'd call it nostalgia, right? Because you would be nostalgic for the time in your life that you were doing these things and feeling the way that you felt, and you'd be remembering those good things that came along with it. And I think it's good that we don't remember, or at least that nostalgia is. It adheres to positive memory rather than negative, because if we looked back and all we remembered was like the struggles from those times, that's when we're more like remorseful, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So it's good that you recognize that, but it's also good that you're making the harder decision and going, okay, these opportunities that I took while I was doing this made me the person that I am, so that I can take this new opportunity, so that I can enter this new season of my life, right? Season, chapter, you can kind of like interchange those things. I think some people say chapter, some people say season, but ultimately when you're looking at your life, you have seasons, you have chapters, you have different moments, you have periods, you have eras, like whatever you want to call it. They're all very similar. And you're entering a new era of your life, right? And for me, very similar, like I got back from a tournament this weekend. This was my first time competing in 2 years, but I would even say the tournament I went to 2 years ago, I went because I was told I was going. Like I was told like it was a great opportunity and I should go and all these things, and I kind of went on that recommendation. I didn't go like, and I think even back then, like I kind of knew. I was like I'm not really here because like I was driven to be here. Like I was there because I was like, all right, well, this is part of the thing that I'm doing, right? And I wasn't like I enjoyed the experience and I made the most of it, but when I came back from it, it's not like I was like, oh yeah, that tournament, whatever. This one, very different. Like this is the first I would say this is the first combat sport tournament, so martial arts discipline related tournament that I've ever gone to that I was like in, right? And it's I signed myself up. I signed everything that I needed to do. I got everything in order. I showed up early. I made sure I was able to help out with the mats. I participated in a lot of different functions in the tournament. And then the next day, because I was in that headspace and because I was invested, right? This is the first this is the first time I felt invested in a form of martial arts that I practice in my life. And because I felt invested, I won every fucking match. But it wasn't, because obviously there's a lot more to that. It's like you can't just show up and be invested and be like, I'm going to win. Like there's a lot of stuff that led up to it. But that's definitely a different chapter in my life, from even when you and I met, like, I was like doing coffee and managing a wine store and recommending things to people. And I was in a whiskey club, and like now it's like, all right, cool. Well, the only thing of those that I really still have left is like I make coffee in the morning.
Yeah, right.
And I'm a very different person, much like you are. So like, but so a little bit different from what you've been going through is, as opportunities have been coming up for me, and as they've been presenting themselves, I've had to make 1-for-1 decisions time and time again. So like moving away from Upstate Coffee Collective was a decision that happened as I was saying yes to other things in life, right? Moving into doing combat sports again, doing judo, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai was something that I said yes to as I was moving into a different period of my life. Picking up a job in the corporate world, in the finance world, that was something that I had to weigh. I had to go, okay, do I want to do this? And do I take the risk? I've never done anything like this before. If I do this, I'm saying no to things. And that was always a hard decision for me, to say no to things like, I was just listening to, have you ever listened to No Stupid Questions?
I have not.
It's a really good podcast. A psychologist runs it with her friend, and they talk about just different questions that come up. But one of the topics I listened to recently, and this is pretty relevant to what we're talking about, is are you doing too much? Right? Like, are you doing too much? And the answer for me, looking back, and we've talked about this before, is yes, I was doing too much. I was, because too much of anything is a bad thing. Like, we all know that. It's a very easy general statement, but it's, too much happiness is mania. Too much sadness is depression. Too much of any emotion, it falls into a category that we see as not being good. Too much of any activity is fatigue. And so, like, over time, and I think similar to how you're looking at these opportunities, like the process of maybe doing the YouTube channel and the passion that was there, as it dies down, fatigue becomes, not saying that you're fatigued, but saying like it's a little more prevalent than it was. And the things that are coming up that are part of who you're becoming are more interesting. They're less fatiguing. They're more engaging. You're more passionate. You're able to get into them a little more. You're invested, right? And so for me, over time, similar to that, do you agree with that first? I don't want to like just keep going. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay, cool. So for me, in a similar way, I was, and especially like, I think similar but different, because my difference was I had a very telling moment in 2020 where, I crashed a car and should have died and did not, and then had to go, okay, cool. We have to start making hard life decisions now, because I was saying yes to everything for forever, right? Every opportunity that came my way was a yes. Everything
You're
that
Jim
came my
Carrey.
way was a yes. And I would, but I
Yes,
was,
man.
but it wasn't just yes in the sense of like one thing. So I wasn't building my life around one thing. I was incorporating all these things. I was putting too much on my plate. And finally the plate just flipped into the fucking wall, right? And literally, and I came out with, thank God, alive with no injuries, right? And was like, okay, cool. We have to start saying no now. That's the big lesson here, is say no to alcohol first. First, say no to alcohol, because that was involved, right? And then I had to start saying no to other things that I cared about and still had passion for, but like maybe couldn't balance. And even now, I came back from this tournament, and I'm having a conversation with my mom this morning. She's like, well, what are you going to do today? And I just started listing off the things I had to do, and I went, oh, I'm doing the thing again, where I'm putting too much on my plate, and I should take a couple things off because I don't get a rest day today. I'm sore as hell. It doesn't matter that I won yesterday. Like I had to work for it. I'm very, very sore. So, but then I have to get up and I have to push myself through it. And that's good. There's a lesson there, and I'm going to do that, right? Because that's important. But like, ultimately I have to say no to that. And part of you saying no to your YouTube is so you can say yes to other opportunities that align with who you are. Right. And that's what both of us are really talking about when we talk about transitioning into a new, that's what anybody's really talking about when they talk about moving into a different period of their life, is they're saying no to some things that they used to say yes to. They're saying yes to some things that might be new to them. Right. And they're embarking upon a new journey.
Yep.
Great. Thank you for your input.
No, you've been on this for like 8 minutes straight, so I'm just letting you.
I know.
You took my point and were just like, actually, I have thoughts, and I was just like, yep, go for it.
All right, cool. Well, I'm trying to describe that process, because I've been thinking about it a lot.
I mean, it's important, right? Like, the thing is, you're correct on. I mean, obviously, I agree. It's just, it's rough because, like, this was not. There's so much to say about it. Like, this wasn't an easy decision.
It never is,
and it's not something that like. And I think, when I've told some people about it, and some people in my group chat, the Pack, which I've mentioned before on this podcast, to all the other bag reviewers, they were like, oh, you should really make a video or make a post on your channel, letting your subscribers know that you're not going to be posting anymore.
Yeah.
Or that the channel's retired. And part of me wants to do something like that. Part of me wants to make a video being like, hey, this was an incredible journey, yada, yada, yada. You can find me here if you want to keep, seeing my content, which I'll get to what that here is in a bit. But I think about that though, and I'm just like, and this might be more of an opinion question, but like, part of me is like, do I really? Is it even worth it? And I don't mean that like I don't think that some of the subscribers that I've accumulated over the last 4.5 years wouldn't want to keep following me, but I just don't know if announcing retirement is something that I've ever really felt like is necessary. Like, part of me feels like if I add anything else to my channel, it kind of ruins that like poetic beginning and end. What do you think, Kevin?
I think I think one, you're moving in the right direction. If you did announce something, I think it ruins the poetic beginning and end, right?
Yeah.
I also think you don't owe anything extra to anybody who's watched your videos. They've gotten the value that's in each one by watching them. I don't think you actually owe people. Like, I don't think if you're getting off Facebook or getting off Instagram, and I used to, like, in our, because we grew up in, like, the boom of social media. People used to have these big, long, like, I'm off Facebook now, and I've
got to go look for my 20s. Soul.
Yeah. And no more, bye, friends, goodbye.
Don't message me, because I won't respond.
You might never see me again. Yeah, but then, like,
I'll see you in math class tomorrow.
We're just like, oh, yeah, your Facebook's down, right? And they're like, yeah, it's down.
I deactivated it.
You can't even talk to me on there anymore. Yeah, I'm just not.
And then a week later, it's them.
I'm back.
I'm back, everyone.
Everyone, I'm back. Like, and so I don't think you owe anybody that. I don't think you need to add on to that. I think, like you said, there's a possibility that it might revive, and in the future, all that's going to happen is you're going to have to fight that current of the algorithm. You're going to have to fight that when you come back to build up any sort of viewership again, if you do that. But that's going to be your choice to make in the future, right? That's a choice for future Odie. That, like, for right now, you've already made your choice. You made your final video. You even, like, posted a story, right? That was like, hey, it's done. And then you're moving on to your next thing, which is you go into it now. Okay, let's talk about your thing. Let's talk about why Odie's eras are changing, why Odie's seasons are different. Would you call this more of a summer season, Odie? Is this springtime?
I think it's I like spring. I like spring and fall are my two favorite seasons.
So this one's a spring, the other one's in fall. Got it.
Yeah. All right. So
backpacks. See you later. It's all leaves falling over there.
So not a lot of people know that the Odie Matthews the Backpack channel is actually my third attempt at YouTube. And my first two attempts were way long time ago. Like, when I think one of them I was still in high school, and the other one was like fresh out of I was still in the Marines.
You had like a silly string review channel, right?
Yeah, I love silly string.
All the different versions of silly string that existed.
Yeah, the taste of them.
How they tasted, how they smelled coming out of the can, right? Like how much you got out of each can, right?
How much I could snort them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So
never took off.
Strung Out, the YouTube channel, was amazing for Odie Matthews. All right.
Fuck. That got me. The first two attempts that I had,
Silly String.
were I really wanted to. Sorry, first 3 attempts I had Silly String, and then the other 2 were
Serial reviews.
I wanted to talk about movies, and the problem was I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to write scripts to talk about stuff. I didn't know how to edit that kind of stuff. I remember the first time I went to film a YouTube video for in that, I was looking at the camera and I was like, okay, obviously when people do this, it's all one long take. So I thought that I needed to speak for 10 minutes straight with no cuts, because I didn't realize that at the time, I was I wasn't even into video editing at that point. I was in high school. So obviously going from that to, literally, if you look at the last video on my Odie Matthews channel, it's like one of my favorite videos I've ever made. It's basically like a love letter, 17-minute, probably some of my best editing. But
yeah, it's very good.
I've always wanted to talk about movies, but the problem with that is the movie review, movie commentary market is so saturated on YouTube that it's hard to break into. So
bunch of cinephiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So over the last couple months, I've been thinking about it, and I love seeing new movies, but new movie reviews get lost in the shuffle pretty quick.
Yes.
So many channels, a couple of my favorites, even like Mr. Sunday Movies and Cosmonaut Variety Hour, love to talk about comic book movies. I love comic book movies, but again, it's a pretty saturated market. So I thought, why not create a channel where we look at what I like to call the magnum opus of movies. You've heard of magnum opus, but this is looking at all of the biggest, no thank you, nopus of movies. So looking at intentionally bad movies and seeing, not as well, kind of, because some of these movies, like Morbius, have star power and money and studios behind them, and should have been, well, not really should have been, but
so either intentional or unintentional B movies, like movies that get a B or below.
Basically movies that are just straight bad, or what we're looking for in this pile is movies that are so bad that they're good. And that's what this channel is kind of going to be all about. It's called Magnum Opus. The first video just already came up. It's about Morbius compared to Madam Web. Give you guys an idea.
Inspired by us watching Southland Tales? Is that why this came about?
Yes.
Is it because you're a pimp and pimps don't commit suicide?
It's partially. That's my name on Discord. It's Pimps Don't Commit Suicide. It's literally stuck with me forever. But to give you an idea of some of the movies that are going to be coming up that I'm going to be looking at, and there is one thing that I will say that does set this channel apart, and I'll say that in a second. But some of the movies that we're going to be looking at, is Morbius actually worse than Madam Web? Does
Which
anybody?
You did already.
Yes.
Which is okay. So here's I texted you. This was the first video I think you've made that I've watched in its entirety, and I told you every backpack video I would get to a point where I was like, all right, Odie's made the point about the backpack, and the rest of this is not for me. It's for pack people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally. Does anybody remember the movie Bloodshot? For those of you that don't know, just give you a little hint about what this video is going to be like. That movie came out on March 13th, 2020, and on March 15th of 2020, America went into lockdown. Yeah. This was Vin Diesel's attempt at superhero movies besides being Groot. It is one of the stupidest, worst, absolute garbage. It's just bad.
And he blamed the failure of that film on the pandemic, but it's just that the film's bad.
You need to watch. When this video comes out, I encourage everybody to watch it, because what went into that movie and why it failed is incredible to me. We're going to look at movies like, you remember the original Crow from the 90s with Brandon Lee?
Yeah.
With the remake coming out with Bill Skarsgård?
Dude, I watched The Crow too.
Yeah. So that director of the first Crow movie did a movie that not a lot of people know with a ton of star power called The Gods of Egypt.
Oh, God. Yeah. No. Yeah. With Nikolai Coster-Waldau. Gerard Butler?
Butler.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Brandon Thwantz or something.
That movie was on. I was on a plane. I was flying somewhere and it was on. And I remember being like, oh, that movie's on. All right, cool. I'll turn it on.
So we're going to look at...
and I started, I was like, oh, this is bad.
It's bad.
Oh, this is very bad.
So movies like that, Snakes on a Plane.
Perfect. Love it.
The Tom Cruise Mummy movie just hit my desk. That hurt. So many... That's not a natural movie.
Tom Cruise Mummy movie. I just hit my desk. That hurt.
So
Yes.
my goal is to just see, because you know this about me. I love watching.
This
bad
also means you're
movies.
going to have to talk about The Mummy 3 as well.
Yes.
You're going to have to go, why The Mummy 3 was the end of Mummy movies and Tom Cruise shouldn't have even made The Mummy.
Dude, that was like his passion project.
Isn't
too,
like,
apparently.
isn't like Russell Crowe is like Dr. Frankenstein in that or Dr.
No,
Jekyll?
he's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
So weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So all of that to be said that, I want to look at bad movies, which I think not a lot of people intentionally look at bad movies in this way, but also on top of that, Goose, who does all of our thumbnails and
Nate
our logo.
Goose.
You
know how there's Nate Dogg in the hip hop world?
Nate Dogg.
We have Nate Goose.
Nate Goose.
Nate Goose. Hold up.
They have been drawing, and they might not pop up in my first 2 videos, but they have been working on some avatars of myself,
Yes.
Fictional, like a little stylized in like almost like an animated kind of style.
placeholders.
Yes, and so it's a bunch of different poses, bunch of different facial expressions and things like that, and those will be kind of, I don't want to say like the gimmick, but they're going to be kind of the through line of all my videos is that when obviously it's going to be all voiceover because I don't want to be looking at the camera anymore. That's another thing. And I will say that real quick. I'm tired of being in front of the camera. I've been saying this for years.
Says the guy who just went viral on TikTok.
That's different.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
On YouTube, I am.
I'm tired of it on YouTube. TikTok's fine.
Yes. Thank you. You get it. I'm at the point where but the thing is you're not completely far off. Like the difference is like TikTok is just pulling out my phone and talking to it and being like, hey, like I have this thought. But the thing with YouTube,
so you're not tired of being in front of the camera. You're tired of doing longer takes and having to edit yourself in front of the camera over time. Yeah, okay, got it.
This new style of video that I'm doing, this new channel, I can sit here where I'm sitting currently with my mic that I have.
Right there?
Right
you
here.
You could
actually.
sit anywhere. Just
this is
so
where
you
it goes.
know.
No, but right
you
here.
You could sit on a mountain if you wanted
right
to.
Here. Right
okay.
here. I mean, GarageBand doesn't need internet,
do it
so
here where I'm sitting.
Can I?
You could.
Oh my god. But like, I get to just sit here, read off my script, and then
or stand. You could stand outside.
I don't want to
keep
stand.
going.
I told you, Kevin, I'm sitting right here. But my skill, and it sounds weird to say this out loud because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about myself, but like my skill is not in front of the camera. Like
pop off, son.
I'm sure a lot of people might watch my videos and be like, oh wow, they seem like really comfortable in front of the camera. And like, yes, but also no. I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't like talking to the camera. I don't really like that style of video. So being able to just have my voice and then have a little avatar of myself that is expressing the way that I want to express is gonna, I think, really, it'll be nice for me, and I'm excited. And yeah, the channel Magnum Opus, I'm really, really stoked. I think that this has a lot of promise, and if I'm being totally honest and transparent, I never saw the Odie Matthews channel going very far. I never saw it hitting high numbers of subscribers.
Maybe you didn't expect it to do that, but like honestly, it could have.
I mean, yeah, that's a good. That's a good. That's a good point.
I'm gonna gas you up, bro.
No, that's a good point. I didn't expect it to, and I'm not disappointed because it didn't. But what I was starting to get disappointed about was I would post a video, and sometimes it would get thousands of views, and sometimes it would get like 100 views. And views don't really matter to me, but I realized that what that was doing is I was working on content that I didn't want to make. I was stressing myself to get it out, and then it wasn't performing well. And all of those things together, I was just like, this just isn't
okay. So
worth
going
it.
back to what I was saying, you were getting fatigued. Okay,
I was.
Yes.
And that's the thing is,
I was trying to be nice about it. I didn't want to assume anything, but now that you're describing
totally
it, it's
right.
like, okay, that's fatigue.
Because at the beginning of this year, I even made a video entitled "Everything Must Go," which honestly was kind of a little hint that like my time's almost up, and it was me getting rid of pretty much every
this was
single
your
bag.
subtle Facebook announcement.
It was because I literally got rid of, gave away, or sold. No, that's not what it was. I was just getting rid of my. I literally was just like, hey, I'm getting rid of my collection.
Yeah.
It's time to, kind of like clean it out kind of thing. And
Yeah.
my videos come out on Fridays. I really like posting on Fridays because then I
Yeah.
can work on them during the weekend. But there was almost every video that came out this year except for my big wandered video.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally like, it would be like Wednesday or sometimes even Thursday. And I'd be at work and I'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't have anything to put out this Friday. I didn't film. I didn't think about anything. And then I would have to go home and I would have to write out what I wanted to say. I'd have to, look at the bag that I'd been working on and like testing and write out my points. And then the next thing I know, it's like 3 a.m. on a Thursday night, Friday morning, and I'm getting my video up. And then I'm waking up 2 hours later to go to work on Friday because I didn't put anything out because my heart wasn't in it. So I didn't want to do it. I would procrastinate to the last minute. And that,
I think you said the key component. Your heart wasn't in it.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and here's the thing. This is not only a self-reflection kind of realization, but also hopefully a realization that maybe other people will come to, or, they'll be able to identify it when it does pop up.
Yeah. I
watched Morbius. And I obviously went to go see the wonderful movie Madam Web, which was great. We all loved it. It was Web in time.
Phenomenal.
It was fantastic. It was
I don't even know why
best
it's on
acting.
your Magnum Opus channel.
It shouldn't be.
Perfect movie.
And I started like with this idea, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna write out the script, and I wrote it out, and I recorded my voice, and I started editing it, and about 10 minutes into editing it, I was like, this is it. I want to do this all the time. And I have not been able to get myself to not be working on. I already have written out 3 of the scripts for the movies. I'm editing 2 different ones at the same time. And every second that I'm free, all I want to do is edit these videos. And that is a feeling that I have not had. It's not a passion or a flame that I've had for this kind of stuff in a very long time. It has been a while since I have been like, you have to pull me away from my computer because I love editing this stuff so much. Like, it has been a long time since I've had that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's great.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that, like, we covered that you actually were fatigued. Your heart wasn't in it. Like, I think that's important. Those are important components, too. Recognizing when you're just not into something is huge. Yeah. For Matt and I, when we had to like step away from Upstate Coffee Collective, we really we had been texting each other for months. Like, okay, this weekend we're getting together. Okay, this weekend we're getting together. And we just kept trying and trying and trying. And it just wasn't working because of the way our lives were built. And eventually we had to go, okay, we're not getting together. Like, it's not happening. We have to make steps in a different direction. And now, because we were able to say no and let go of something, now we're like, Matt's about to have a kid. I'm off in like the professional realm of my world, meeting with my COO every week and like having great conversations, developing as a professional and doing different hobbies myself. I have more time for, the things that are coming my way that my heart is in, and my heart was in coffee. With the things that we needed to do, because coffee was a want, right? It wasn't a need. It was something that we wanted to develop, but we couldn't. We needed to do all these other things because of those shifting needs. We had to recognize where we could make the most of our time. And so it was a little bit different than what you're describing, but like ultimately we had to go, okay, no more coffee. Well, and that's why you and I even started doing this though. So that's great, because this would have otherwise been, Matt and I still wrangling guests for the Upstate Coffee Collective podcast, which was great. And I love that we did that. And like doing that actually was very much the precursor to you and I doing UnPop, right? Because that was me cutting my teeth as a podcast person and doing it with Matt, who did all the editing, and now I kind of like stepped in.
Now it's you.
Well, I can do what Matt did, I think.
Yeah.
I think I do okay.
Our episodes go up. I mean,
yeah. But I think you're touching on something that's really key, and I think it's something that people always have a hard time with, and it's because overall, like in your life, you will experience like loss, right? And loss, like any other human experience, is a spectrum of experience. And so like, it doesn't matter if it's like losing the time that you had carved aside for something that you kind of identified with, or something that you really identified with. Like, it doesn't matter if it's recognizing the changing seasons of your life. Like, I was listening to I read It was like a little post actually the other day. I forget where. It was
On
on
TikTok?
social media. No, on social media. It was a
Was it a TikTok shop?
no, it was in like a little Magic the Gathering community, but it was a guy talking about how he was playing all the way up through 2001 and then life happened. He didn't have time for it. He had to shift priorities. And then like fast forward to 2024, he's teaching his kid how to play now. And I was like, oh, that's like, because my friends who I was playing Magic with for like the past 2 years, because that was my hobby when I was like taking care of the kids and Brandy, because like that was something I could do from the kitchen table. You know, like when I was part of that household, like I had to find hobbies that kept me also in the household or like around that lifestyle. So like Magic was one of the best ones, and I formed a good friend group around that. But they, some friends have been like, oh man, we really miss you. I'm like, I miss you guys too. And I don't say like I have to come and we have to
I'll
do
be
this.
there.
I don't do that, and I don't make like the false promise of it. I'm just like, hey, when I have the time, I can't wait to play again. And I just don't right now. But like another thing that I wanted to add on to that is like, in the beginning of this year, I was like, okay, I'm not doing any other shows. I'm just going to do training and work, right? And then I got the opportunity to do Into the Woods, and I auditioned. And, well, actually, I didn't get the opportunity. I auditioned and then got the opportunity and then was like, okay, I accept. And so now I'm in this production, and today I get no rest time. And that's okay, because it's going to be fulfilling, and I love the experience, and I'm putting myself into it, right? But it does mean, because I am looking at like mid-April, and I'm like, man, I'm going to be exhausted mid-April. Like, and
that's not good though, because that's when the Fallout TV show comes out,
and that's almost a month from now.
No,
I know, but I am going to be exhausted, and then. But what's going to be really great, and I've kind of like, how I'm an optimist, so I try to find and by being an optimist, I'm not naively optimistic, like I'm not delusional about it. But what I do is I find the most optimistic through line, right? So I'm like, okay, I have so much going on. This weekend was a huge moment because this in my mind was the big marker for judo. Like I was like, okay, I need to push myself and give everything that I possibly can through that tournament, right? And I did. Brought my A game, had a great day, left with 2 gold medals, right? Great. Even had to beat a jiu-jitsu black belt for one of them, which is a whole other fucking story. But
that's cool,
insane.
Though.
That blew my mind. Honestly, dude, that's a whole other story. But yeah, so this was a big marker for me. And the next tournament that's happening for judo, unfortunately, is the second weekend that we're doing Into the Woods. So I can't go to that one, right? So I have to say no. But then because I already have a commitment. I'm committed. I'm doing this thing. So what I really had to do recently was I was like, okay, what was the reason that I said I wasn't doing theater? Was it just because I needed the break, or was it because I didn't have the time? And it was a little bit of a combination of both. But in recognizing the one thing that I still have kind of a bad habit of is overcommitting, right? So like, and I would say right now I'm like just towing the line, and a younger me would still add one more thing to his plate, and be burnt out by like May, right?
Oh, yeah.
But because I'm a little older, I'm a little wiser, I'm making these better decisions. What I'm going to do, so what I did cognitively was I said, okay, commit to the judo tournament, commit to Into the Woods, get all the way to the end of that. 2 weeks after that, you're in the Dominican Republic, so I've got a whole week to reset. And it's not full reset because I'm, we're doing work down there, but it's separated enough from my day-to-day life that like part of what I can do while I'm down there when I do have free time and like mental space is go, okay, cool. What are we doing when we get back? How are we doing it? How are we doing it efficiently? How do we, and like, I'm not going to say, how do I maximize my time? How do I optimize my time? Because that is, I think if you do that habitually, it's unhealthy. Like going back to the too much, right? If that's all you're focused on is maximizing and optimizing time, no, you're doing yourself a disservice. Bertrand Russell wrote the book In Praise of Idleness, which is all about finding that time, like really appreciating the time that you have to be idle. Because you're not really idle. Like, even if you're meditating, you're actively choosing to clear your mind, right? And so, like, when you sit down, meditation is still an active thing. Like, we don't think about it that way, but you really, like, the process of getting to the state of a clear mind to meditate is active all the way up to the point of the clear state. So it still is an activity, right?
Yeah.
And we just don't frame it that way because we think, oh, meditate, clear your mind. Yeah, cool. No. Everything that you do, the time you set aside, the intention that you have going into it, setting yourself up to be in the right element, the right environment, like the right space, the right mental space, all of that is very intentional and actionable. And then you get there and the result is clear state, clear mind for a little bit, and you reap the benefits of that. But everything up to that is still active. So like with everything that you do in life, it's the same spectrum. And the one thing that I'm bad at is balancing out that time by saying no. And I've been getting better, but I'm still not great at it. So one of the things that I want to be even more intentional about is what I'm saying yes to, but also really knowing what the cap is for allotting myself free time, because I don't have a ton of free time right now. You know, and that's
it's a valuable
something that
resource.
we need as people. Well, you need it. Your right brain needs it more than your left brain, right? Like your creative side, the side of you that's inspired, the side of you that can like wander off into thought and daydream and all those things needs free time so that you can switch modes of thought, so that you can move in between these different systems and zones of thinking that you have and really actually like replenish and reap the rewards of that as well. So that's something that, you know, when I looked at that, I was like, okay, definitely need to pick one or the other when it comes to theater or training when I get back, because right now I'm balancing both and it's not leaving me a lot of free time.
No, I spot on. And realizing that I think is super important because, I mean, to an extent, like a couple people were like, why don't you just keep both channels, right? Like, why don't you just do both? And it's like, well, because then I don't have any free time, and then one's going to suffer, and then I'm going to get burned out on the one that I actually like.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that you're realizing that, like, and it's not the same as turning like two channels, but I mean, if your
response should be, well, why don't you run one of them? And they'll go, well, I don't have the time. And you go, exactly.
I don't either. Like, and that's the thing though, like, you know, you even said it, like you've been getting back into judo and you've been going to training, because, you know, we talk a lot on the phone when you're driving to and from. Yeah. And then you also have,
I'm always
you know,
driving.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's my favorite time to talk to people is when I'm driving. Yeah. And then, you know, you also have your theater. And I think a lot of people, and I could be wrong and I might be generalizing and I apologize if I am, but I think a lot of people put too much on their plate. And then when their plate is too full, instead of being like, oh, I took on too much that I can't handle, they just start pointing fingers.
Yeah.
And
which is not what I want to do.
No. And I think that's good. Like, I totally agree that being aware of how much you can handle and making sure that you're attentive to your own free time. Like today, I worked yesterday and then I had D&D. I had like a 16-hour day yesterday. It was insane. And today I was like, oh man, today I get to finally, like, I get to finish up working on my video. Yeah. Actually, no, today I'm not gonna edit. I'm not gonna work on YouTube. I'm not gonna work on social media. I'm just gonna exist today. Yeah. Because one of my other close friends is flying in tonight for a job interview out here. Fingers crossed he takes it. So I'm like, you know what? He's coming in tonight. Get to see an actual friend like in person. That's gonna be good. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna clean the house and I'm just gonna exist. Today is an existing day.
Okay.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah. No, that's really good. You need those, and I think some people are less active, and that's fine. Like I think they have more of that existing time. I'm a hyper active person. Just period. Like I know this about myself. Yeah.
You don't say.
But the thing that I also, to add onto what we're talking about, the thing that I also need to be wary of is that is the exact reason why it was so hard for people to pinpoint the fact that I was an alcoholic when I was, is because I'm so hyperactive, right? And that was a component of that. And one of the things, and this is, I bring this up, I don't bring it up a ton, but I bring it up enough because one of the things that I'm consistently moving away from are the states that I existed in that allowed for that addiction to flourish. And one of those things was I was very, like, it's not like I was intentionally covering it up, but it was very hard to see through all of the things that I was doing, right? Like, if I was still drinking, I probably still would have gone to that tournament. Would I have gotten double gold? I don't know. But, like, I would have still gone to a tournament, right? I would still go out and audition for things. I would probably say yes to more things because I would be in less of a state to make sober decisions. And one of the more sober decisions I can make is to take things off my plate and get away from that person who it was so easy to mask anything going wrong with him because everyone was just like, no, there's no way anything's wrong. He ran 40 miles this week. He like competes. He does this, like all of the things I was doing where they blurred everything else because everyone, all anyone saw was the active person. They didn't see the person who, in his more passive moments was destroying himself,
Oh yeah.
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 So there's an extra element to learning to say no for me of necessity.
I think it's important though. I mean,
it is.
I would consider myself a pretty busy person. I definitely don't think I'm as busy on your level, but I mean, I definitely keep myself pretty busy for the most part with
you
and
are.
I mean,
no, you're
my
busy.
My busyness though is more,
you're engaged.
It's more freelance editing, video creation and things like that outside of work. But I mean, I think that it's still really important for anybody, no matter what level of busy you are, whether you just go to your 8 to 5 and come home, or you go to your 8 to 5 and then you go to a practice, then you go to a dinner, and then you go out to eat, and then you come home and you work on YouTube, and then you wake up at 2 a.m. and do it all over again. Whatever level of schedule you have, I don't think anybody should be told that, oh, well, like, why are you tired? Why are you taking today off? Like, you don't do a lot. Or if you do a lot, I guess my point is that no matter what level of active you are, make sure you have that time for yourself. Because if you feel burned out, like everybody has a different level of burnout, right? Like, you can go balls to the wall with judo and your job and your theater and doing stuff for your friends with like Magic the Gathering and podcasts and all this other stuff. And, I can go to work and then work on YouTube and hang out with friends and do D&D. And, John Smith over there might just go to his job and be like, wow, that took everything out of me. And that's fine. Then make sure you take your time to recover the way you need to, no matter if it's because you just went to your job and you're tired or because you did 36 things in 1 hour and you're tired. Like, just because you're not as active as the people around you, or maybe not as quote unquote busy as the people around you, does not mean that your free time and your rest time and your recovery time isn't as important.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that because we talk a lot about how busy we are, and I don't want people to think that like we only think that if you're busy you get rest time. Like, no matter what level, No,
I've one of the things there's it's like peer related
pressure.
No, not peer pressure, but it's like peer related. It's like it's like peer related value assessment of the self. Where we look around at like publicly, or at least what's available to us, and then maybe using the confirmation bias, we kind of confirm within ourselves based on what we're seeing, like, oh, everyone's busy, everyone's doing things, I need to be doing things as well. But that might even just be the way that you're engaging with the world and the people that you're around. And as someone who's gotten very good at maximizing his time awake, right? Like, I will say that, like, that's a good thing to be able to do. It's not a good thing. Maximizing the time that you're awake is not a forever thing. You can create consistency with it. You can create. I'm someone who flourishes in routine. I eat almost the same thing for breakfast and lunch every day. I eat like I make my coffee. I have my little morning mantra. I stretch every day. I make sure that I'm doing all the things that I say that I'm going to do for myself every day. And then outside of that, I can maximize my time, and I've done it for very extended periods of time. And I will say that, like, as I get to the end of those extended periods, it becomes unhealthy because it's maximized. That's not a term that should exist every single day of your life, right? Maximizing your time is not something to do forever. And there's a whole like subculture of people. And I don't just want to call it hustle culture because it's like motivation, hustle, and now like the hot word is discipline. So all of those fucking wannabe influencers are like, it's all about discipline because discipline's there when you're not motivated. And it's like, all right, stop overusing the terms. Stop it right now. I know I know you want to make money off of your
bad
TikTok
influencer
and your wannabe Joe Rogan, Jordan B. Peterson podcast.
Bad
like
TikTok.
I know you read 2 Jordan B. Peterson books and now you're gonna repeat a lot of the shit that he says and act like you're an intellectual as well, or your fucking Jocko Willink books and you're the motivated, disciplined person. And that, like, if that's who you are, great. Have fun with it. Enjoy. You will reach the extent of it. Like, you will. It's just going to happen. You will reach the wall that you do not come over. And
100%.
And as someone who, like, I think part of the reason that I'm learning this from the opposite end of the spectrum is because when I was in college was when it was the most unhealthy. I would literally hit points where my body would just shut down. And it's because I went to a D3 school that wrestled in D1 tournaments. I was monitoring my weight. I was going to the gym 5 days a week. I had wrestling practice 5 days a week. I was a phys ed major. I was in multiple clubs. I was in performances. Like, everything I did just went. I still went to parties. I still had crazy times. Like, I was doing all of these. I was still getting B pluses and A's and like all of that. Like once or twice a semester, my body would just go, "You're done for 48 hours," and it would shut down. And I didn't have the wherewithal to see within myself at the time how unhealthy that was. And it took part of my maturity as an adult was recognizing that pattern. And it took forever because I didn't see it. And because so much was getting done, going back to what I was saying, other people didn't see it either. You know? Wow. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That was my wonderful work phone going off on a Sunday. Let me just put that on vibrate.
But ultimately, like, I say all this to get to the point that, like, there is a culture that will push maximizing your time, maximizing your effort. But it's not. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of those people, if you were to peer into their day to day, they're not actually maximizing their time, maximizing their effort, like, as much as they say they are. And there are still moments in their days where they fail. And there are still moments in their days, like I love Michael Chernow. He's great. He's got, and he's one of those people. Like, I'm talking about these people that are promoting all these things and saying all these things and doing all these things. I identify with him because he was an addict and he came out of that addiction. I don't know what he was addicted to. I haven't, like, really dug into him, but, like, I know a little bit of his story and I know enough to go, okay, cool. I like his voice and I like what he's doing because I still want to be a very active person. I identify as someone who accomplishes things. I identify as I am someone who competes at a high level. I am someone who, whenever he does anything, does it 100%. But I have to recognize it within myself, like, even if Michael Chernow is, even if he is maximizing everything that he's doing on a day-to-day basis, that he's not. I'm Kevin Miner. I'm not Michael Chernow. So like to look at, like, it's so hard to not compare, but, like, you have to one, be able to hear the comparison in your head, but then you also have to be able to filter it for yourself and go, okay, but also let's be real. And that's actually going back to what I was talking about. That was probably the best moment I had yesterday because, we're at the judo tournament. We've got 5 people there. And right before we started, first off, we said the best thing that we could ever say as a team. And, like, I think Marco said it first, Marco Armantini. He's an amazing judo player, black belt. He's from Italy. I love him to death. When he first showed up to the club, I was like, I like this guy. And we had so many good. I couldn't tell you how amazing everybody that was at the tournament
You've mentioned him before.
Was
yesterday. At the pod too. Even.
Yeah, and he's great. He's probably one of my favorite people to play judo with. And that's what they call it, by the way. When in judo, they call it play. You're playing judo. You are a judo player.
That's cute. That's cute.
It's cool. So, like, we all said, no matter what, go out and have fun. Like, which is cool because we're, like, adults. We're not, like, it's a very Mighty Ducks moment, like, no matter what, we're going to have fun. And, like, that's what the real point is. And it really is, though. Like, the pillars of judo are using energy in the most efficient way through friendship and respect to learn and grow. Like, that's what judo is all about. That's why I love it so much. But, like, so I've got my first match, and I'm going to go through a little story real quick. And I think this is the last thing I have to say on this. So I got my first match of the day, and Poor guy across from me. He's a white belt. He's in my weight division. We probably weighed the same. He felt like he weighed what I weighed, but he was not very strong right off the rip, right? And I could feel it. Like, you can feel when you tie up with someone in judo, you can feel their strength. And I was like, oh, this is mine. Like, this match is mine now. Well, like you'll get this, Odie. Like, how in anime there's that moment where people square off or tie up or like anything like that, and they're like they're reading each other's power level. Mm-hmm. That happens. Like, that really, like, that moment, it doesn't happen that way. It's very short, but it's like and it's more intuitive. But sometimes when you grab onto someone and they grab onto you at the same time, you get a sense of who's going to win before it even happens. Like, yeah. And I was like, and I was nervous because it's my first actual like match. Like I said, I'm really invested in this tournament. I want to win. Like, I didn't show up just to have fun. I did want to have fun.
You wanted to win the thing you were competing in?
But I did want to win. And
that's weird.
So we tie up and I'm like, all right, I got this. Thank God this is my first match. I was trying to pin the kid and I ended up choking him out, which was a funny happenstance. But and he was a white belt and I'm a yellow, right? So I'm still novice, but like I'm working my way up. And then I get my next opponent. They're a green belt. That's above me. I'm like, okay, we're stepping it up. That match was harder. And then somebody goes, oh no, that black belt in jiu-jitsu he's in your class.
That's funny.
And I was like, and I had just watched him completely destroy someone and was like, that guy? And I met him, and here's the funny thing, his name's Marco as well. And then he and I, we exchanged like info at the end of the like later in the day. But he and I'm like, oh shit, he's a brown belt in judo. So I've gone up both times. Like, he by rank and by time invested in both sports, he is beyond me. And I was just like, okay, I just have to be smarter than this person. Like, I can't be just stronger. I just have to be smarter. I'm not going to know more than he does. I'm not going to like have some sort of magic trick that wins me the match. And
not like Karate Kid where you just do like a flying kick to the face.
No. And not just that. I had to go against him twice. So I had to beat a black belt in jiu-jitsu and a brown belt in judo twice in order to get one of my gold medals. But like, what I'm really working up to is like, I had this moment where I had to accept the fact, like, it doesn't matter how much you've done. It doesn't matter, like, because I was, you get in your head and my head turns into like a big ball of chaos. Like, I'm not always at peace, but right before I get on the mat, I take a big breath and I try to clear everything out that I can. But leading up to that, in my head, the one thing that I thought, and probably this is the best moment of the day, I went, okay, you might lose. Like, and it was the first time I had thought that all day, was you might lose. Every other match that I stepped out on the mat before and after that, I was like, you are likely going to win this. Like in my mind, I was like, you're going to win. Like, and I wasn't saying that like to set myself up for an expectation that I would be mad about if I didn't, but I was putting that in my head to try and will it into existence before even stepping out. But this was the only one where I was like, you might lose, but just do everything you can. Whatever you do, make it a good match. And the second match that I went against this guy, there were actually no points scored. I won by decision by the refs, which is like a huge compliment because that means that I just played better. Like and that's what like those two things that I was thinking are not things that you normally think when you're like when we're talking about champions and stuff like that. When we're talking about these people who are achieving at a high level, we like everyone who writes their book, it's like, you got to have it in your head that this is, like, don't think what if I might lose, don't think what if I fail. And I was like, and I didn't think, and here's the difference, like, I didn't think what if I fail, I just said you might in my head. I was like, you might. And
you're acknowledging the possibility.
Yes, and make peace with it so that you can, because like I was like, how do I get these thoughts of failure out of my head? Because like I'm seeing this guy across from me who's like a black belt and a brown belt, and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do that he doesn't already see coming, right? And like I guess accept the fact that I might lose and just go hard. Like, you know, and both matches I did. And the first one I got 1 point. The second one I got none because he knew my game. In the second match, he knew what I was going to do. So like we came out and I just had to be smart the whole time. And no lie, Odie, he almost put me in an armbar. Like it was very, very close. Like he was probably a centimeter and some pressure away from like getting me in a submission that would have just ended the match instantly. And I was able to, thank God, I was able to like stack him up, and like anybody who knows fighting knows what stacking is. But like I stacked him, I kept it tight, and I moved. And he came up like later when we were talking. He was like, dude, you played smart. And I was like, oh, cool. All right, cool. Validation. Rock on. But like we had a really good conversation about it because he doesn't normally get people who are at like that belt level that play smart. And I think part of it, and part of the thing that like we need to do for ourselves, is we need to go, okay, cool, I might fail, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think, and this is my last thought too, I think this is a good spot to tie a nice little bow on this wonderful conversation. I think that you are spot on. I think that removing the thoughts that you might fail, or that this could go poorly, or that a situation goes from good to bad, and like, I think if you remove those completely, it's dangerous. But I totally agree and do exactly what you said. It's acknowledging that the outcome might not be what you want.
Yeah.
But in acknowledging it, to me at least, it's like, okay, so this thing is bad and this could be the outcome.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge that, but I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that outcome doesn't happen. And if I end up at that outcome, okay, well then I'm right back where I was just now. Okay, now I'm at this outcome. But you still
did everything that you could.
Exactly. And then even for me, like when I get, if the bad outcome or the less desirable outcome is what happens, then I'm in another situation where I go, okay, well now I'm at this point where if I do this, I can get here. And now the worst outcome from this is now this. And it's just acknowledging
what's really great about that too is that's what learning is, right?
Yeah.
Learning isn't getting
literally
everything right. Learning is failing and then adjusting and then getting it right. Learning is failing and then adjusting and then getting it wrong again and then adjusting and then getting it wrong again and then adjusting and then getting it right. You know,
it's
like
a wonderful cycle.
Yeah. So like, to wrap that thought up, like, thinking I might fail freed me up to play better. Right. And it's because I was able to accept it, because like, it's that famous old quote. Don't know exactly who said it, but expectation is the mother of all disappointment. And it's not just expectation. It's when you expect a specific outcome to the point that you create a level of self-delusion that is going to be the outcome if you do X, Y, and Z. Right. And when you expect it and it doesn't happen, that's where disappointment lives. Right. So like getting rid of that expectation for myself was what freed me up to then open up the possibility of winning in a different way. Yeah, that's a good final thought.
Yeah. I can't add to that at all. That's
awesome.
Great.
What's your jam?
Okay, so my jam is going to be a little different. We didn't talk about it because it didn't really fit, but I just want to say Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z, unfortunately passed away.
Yes.
And I just wanted to take a second and use my jam spot to just say, for one, I love all of the fans and their responses on social media, but more than that, I love seeing creators of some of my favorite manga and anime like Black Clover, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head, seeing these people being like, wow, this guy is he is one of the greats. He inspired so many people.
Yes.
His work encouraged and helped so many people.
Yeah.
I know not everybody's a big fan of Dragon Ball Z, but I think I've even said on this podcast, my first introduction to anime was Death Note. That's not true. When I was a kid, I watched Dragon Ball Z, but I just never registered that this was an anime. To me, it was cartoons.
Cartoon.
And I loved it. And I loved the Cell Saga. I loved the Boo Saga, the Frieza Saga. Like, there was so many good memories from Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Evolution. And this guy, just an incredible creator, an incredible artist, just created some wonderful stories and created this universe that so many people love. And it's sad. I think he was like 68, which is still pretty young in my opinion. And it just kind of sucks that we lost a good person instead of a bad person.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Here's my question. Do you think that there will be a moment of silence at his funeral? Or do you think everyone will power up?
I hope everyone powers up. I hope everyone's
just a bunch of people yelling.
Yeah, I even saw
that would be amazing.
I even saw this guy on TikTok. He makes random weird pizzas. Like he'll put stuff on pizza and just make it. He's a really famous pizza chef.
That's awesome.
And he even made a Dragon Ball pizza, like cut pepperonis into stars and like made it as a tribute. So like it is like so many people. And I've even seen people that are like, I'm not even a fan of anime. Like I don't even read manga, but like Dragon Ball did so much for me, even if I never watched it. Like just the characters and like knowing about it, and it's just nice. It's just really nice to see.
There are some celebrities that pass away, and I mean this with no offense to them, but I'm like, oh, now I'm gonna have to hear these songs all year. Now I'm gonna see all these reruns happening. And here's the funny thing. I'm not. Like, I actually, it's funny. It's a funny thought, and I should probably do a better job of not having this thought. But like in your mind, you know, you're like, you know, like when Billy Joel passes away, I'm like, oh, now I gotta hear fucking Piano Man he's still alive.
He is.
But when he passes away, I'm like, oh, here we fucking. It's gonna be Billy Joel, Piano Man, and New York State of Mind for fucking 2 years up here, like. And I don't hate Billy Joel, but like I maybe now that I've said this, I'll do a better job of keeping myself in check. But like when Akira Toriyama died, I was like, oh wow, I should probably go back and watch Dragon Ball Z, which is what a lot of people do when like the celebrities that they love die. You know, like I'm just on the other side of the people who are like, oh, I should probably go back and listen to all those Billy Joel songs that I loved. I should appreciate this person a little more because I didn't as much as maybe I should have in the past year, and now they're gone, right? Like that's going back to the spectrum of loss. That's one of the ways that we cope with it. But my response sometimes when it's a celebrity who like maybe I didn't love their body of work, I'm like, here it comes.
Or they were just bad.
Well, yeah, I'm not even gonna venture into that. Like, yeah, goes without saying. But
yeah, I agree.
My jam this week.
Wait, I want to say one quick.
No,
we now have our jams, our not jam, but I want to classify this one as a sad jam because it's sad and he's gone. It's my sad jam.
Sad jam.
So.
You have a sad jam this week. I have happy jams this week. My happy jams this week. I am caught up on Solo Leveling, the manga now, not the show. The manga with Elliot, my coworker's son.
You guys exchanged the issues. I love that.
He and I have crushed it. We have to wait for issue number 9 to come out in August now, so we're gonna find another one to read. But I called up my coworker and I was like, hey, is it cool if maybe we do Chainsaw Man? And he said yeah. So I was like, all right, we're gonna read Chainsaw Man. It was either that or Jujutsu Kaisen the manga, and I was like, all right, either one of these I want to read anyway, so it's just that's the next one. But I gotta
be honest, Chainsaw Man though,
I love it.
That's
fine.
Did not like Chainsaw Man.
That's fine. I love it for all the reasons you didn't. No, I don't know.
What? That's horrible.
No, I actually I just
you like the pedophile?
No, I love the concept.
Just kidding.
I just love the concept. I love
the concept is dope.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
then quick update. This is almost like what I'm listening to, what I'm reading, what I'm doing. But like quick update, I'm up to A Court of Wings and Ruin in the Sarah J. Maas series that I started reading. And I was at my when I was at my friend's house, his wife had a book on the counter and it was Sarah J. Maas and it's from like a different universe, different series, but I was like, oh, hey, did you read these books? And she was like, yeah, some friends recommend it. And she's not the type of person who usually reads these books and said the same thing that everybody who recommended. She's like, oh, they get a little spicy. And I'm like, yeah, they do. But I'm on the third and it's fine now. Like the first was pretty good and it built up to a point where I was really invested. Second one, I became less invested toward the end. This third one seems to be following a similar pattern to the other two. But other than that, like ultimately though, as far as fantasy writing goes, solid fantasy writing. I got to give it like even if I don't end up loving it at the end of the 4 books in this like series, I honestly I'm enjoying it. Even the parts that I don't really enjoy, they're fine. Like and then last but not least, Action Bronson again. Action Bronson all week. I've been jamming it. I'm loving Action Bronson lately. I'm really, dude, I was sleeping on Action Bronson for too long. I really was. Like, so good. He's in so many great songs. He has so many awesome people on his songs. He has so many great rhymes that, like, I've never paid attention to before. And now that I'm, like, opening up my mind and my taste a little bit, because he's someone that I like, when someone first played me Action Bronson, I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this. And I just kind of like, that was it. And it was just one song, and I was like, yeah, I don't really like it, whatever, I won't listen to it. And now, like, what? He's been around for like 12 years. And so now I'm going back through his discography and going, wow, fuck, I missed. but I didn't, because now I'm there. So,
yeah,
you know, little Action Bronson this week.
Will Action Bronson make it a third time next week? Find out.
We will find out. No, I honestly should have said Idola, but, like, I'll wait till their album comes out.
Okay, that's fair.
Final thoughts? Do you have any final thoughts for me, Odie? Do you have any little bits? What are you up to today? What are you doing later? What are you doing after this? You doing anything fun?
No.
No? You're not doing anything? Oh, yeah, you're just existing today.
I'm existing today. I'm going to clean.
Existing.
You know, I say I'm not going to work on my videos. There is a solid chance I will work on one of them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't really have any final thoughts. I think we pretty much covered everything there is to cover about this topic.
All. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
You have seasons in your life. Odie's seasons are only spring and fall, and if you're in the fall category, that means you're out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's it.
It's bittersweet, right? Like saying goodbye to my YouTube channel. It's not easy.
Symphony? That's life.
It's really it's wonderful that I got.
Symphony, that's life.
I love the fact that I got.
We gonna get demonetized cause
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm lucky that at least I'm saying goodbye to something that there is a video archive to remember it by. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're saying goodbye until you get on Facebook and you're like, I'm back, everybody.
I won't be doing that.
The pack reviews are back. Is that what you think our music sounds like?
Doesn't it? Doesn't it have a drum like in it? Doesn't it go?
No, Odie. It sounds like this. I cued it.